Okay.
They got yucky mouths.
Two got yucky mouths. The British, the British are known. The Europeans are known for yucky. All that cigarette smoke too.
Fucking spitting
Okay.
on you. and shit.
34. Whatever.
34. We're recording? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to read us through it?
Sheesh.
We're gonna go one sentence at
Yeah.
a time.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. At whatever standpoint of philosophy one may place oneself nowadays, seen from every position, the erroneous of the world in which we think we live is the surest and most certain thing our eyes can light upon. We find proof after proof thereof, which would fain allure us into surmises concerning a deceptive principle in the nature of things.
The erroneousness of the world in which we think we live is the surest and most certain thing our eyes can light upon.
Yeah.
So, like, we continue to discover errors in our everyday life.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an erroneousness of nature. Okay. He, however, who makes thinking itself and consequently the spirit responsible for the falseness of the world, an honorable exit which every conscious or unconscious advocatus day avails himself of. He who regards this world, including space, time, form, and movement, as falsely deduced, would have at least good reason in the end to become distrustful also of all thinking. Has it not hitherto been playing upon us the worst of scurvy tricks?
Scurvy.
So this one, I got a little help from ChatGPT, but does anybody have any crack at what that is?
Well, like just raw thought, like when I was reading it made me think like, okay, so the only false thing is like our thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And the pursuit of trying to like organize, like thinking, where it's like everything, if we exclude humans off the table and we're just like perceiving Earth, then like everything is like fact, it's just like this is like it's there, like a tree's a tree, the mouse does this, the wolves do this. But like the only things that quite aren't certain is like when we try to think like what is love, what is like passion, what is hate, what's revenge, and then like earlier when he says like seen from every position and like most certain thing is like what our eyes can light upon, and we find proof after proof. So like once we like see something, we go, a tree that has an apple is an apple tree. Like I can prove that with my eyes, and like much with like a thought or like an idea, or so we think once we like first think about it. But then we find out that like, wait, maybe it's not what I thought, because like the only thing that's not perfect is like our like computer processing of like what is. That's my raw thought.
Nice. Yeah. ChatGPT said he critiques the act of thinking itself, suggesting that it has been responsible for constructing a false worldview. So like you're saying, like the erroneous thing is our thoughts. This includes space, time, form, and movement as constructs of the mind.
Yep. Like for example, even time. Like I was just listening, and like scientists now are like, actually, the way we perceive time isn't accurate. Like there's like actually like waves of like how sometimes like in like denser spots of space, like time moves by faster or whatever, and it's like none of that shit fucking even matters. Like we're like we're just living in this. So like sometimes like we make things principles, like he says, like time, movement, whatever. Like a thing, like once things are in motion, they're always in motion until something of equal value stops it or some shit like that, right? It's like so we think,
Right.
So we think, and then like they find out like after a certain formula, like that analysis of movement doesn't actually work, So just like
Then you improve and move forward.
like the iceberg of thoughts. You're like, fuck, I wasn't even close, or maybe I kind of was close.
Let's see. All right, we'll continue. And what guarantee would it give that it would not continue to do what it has always been doing? In all seriousness, the innocence of thinkers has something touching and respect-inspiring in it, which even nowadays permits them to wait upon consciousness with the request that it will give them honest answers.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the one
The-
line I think that I read that was like, it's just like something more normal.
that whole thing, like finish it, but yeah, that this whole thing.
For example, whether it be real or not, and why it keeps the outer world so resolutely at a distance, and other questions of the same description. The belief in immediate certainties is a moral naivete, which does honor to us philosophers. But we have now to cease being merely moral men. Apart from morality, such belief is a folly which does little honor to us. If in middle class life, an ever ready distrust is regarded as the sign of bad character, and consequently as an imprudence, here among us, beyond the middle class world and its yeas and nays, what should prevent our being imprudent and saying, the philosopher has at length a right to bad character? Damn, this boy got run-on sentences. As the being who has hitherto been most befooled on earth, he is now under obligation to distrustfulness, to the weirdest squinting out of every every abyss of suspicion.
Let's take.
Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah, because I wanted to unpack that first chunk before we even get to this chunk. Like I feel like they're like.
It's a different chunk. So in all seriousness.
Yeah. The innocence of thinkers has something touching and respect inspiring. One I like where he was like, isn't it funny that like, okay, this is how I thought about it in my head. So like, we're made from the universe, okay? Like everything about us is shared with the rest of the things that we're made from. Like we're made from matter, and like that matter is shared with all of us, okay?
Right.
And it's funny that like the matter inside of our brain is trying desperately to like answer questions. I feel like we're programmed to be like that. At least not all of us. I think all of us are, and I think some of us learn how to stoke that fire of like thinking, and some of us have particular like niches and like what they like to think about. But anyway, I think it's like a common curiosity among men to like just humans to be like, huh, and like we're asking like so serious, like, will you give us the honest truth? Like who are we even fucking asking? Like right. God, like you could say God, you know, but like a lot of times, like when you're thinking, like God plays a lot of big roles in my life, but it's like he can never answer back truthfully, you know. I think he can show himself in different ways, and that's why I'm always open to like people who interact with me. I feel like I feel like people come into my life because like of things I've prayed about, but just asking questions into the void, like in your own mind, there's no answer back, you know. So I just thought that was like what a way, like we're like, who are we asking, you know? And like we're thinking like maybe this thing can tell us everything else about everything else. It's just like crazy, and we're never right.
Yeah, that's the touching and respect inspiring in it.
The innocent.
Yeah.
That's crazy that he can like think that, like wrap it up in like just one sentence like that. Yeah. You know, like
that is insane.
To explain that to someone, you know, like John took like, I mean, he explained it very well.
Yeah.
And I think he hit it on the head. But like his way of wording is just like crazy.
The way he put it, he was like, to weigh upon consciousness with the request that it will give them honest answers. It's like maybe like, you know, like the Dalai Lama, like the Buddha, you know, he'd be meditating, being like, maybe now it'll come into my head.
Right.
Like, you know, like just fucking record, like literally like please, dude. Please tell me that. Please tell me that.
Creativity, like the best creative thoughts, at least for me, have come from like just a random something pops up in my head, you know?
Well, I agree. Like, for example, every night I go for a walk, and that's when I have my best thoughts. I think of like what to do in class the next day. I think of like a potential idea. I I run like simulations in my head with like things that have happened or things that I want to happen, you know? So like I like meditating for me is hard. So I feel like I'm not a still person. So like some of my best thoughts happen when I'm like doing something physically passive, like walking or hiking, running. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
agree.
I was riding my bike this week.
Riding my bike's a perfect one. Yeah, another one.
When I ride on my bike, bro, I'm about to start calling my helmet the thinking cap, bro. Because as soon as I hit the bike and I don't have any
True.
music playing,
True.
bro, my brain starts going, and I'm like, man, what I should really do, cause just for myself, is like meditations, and like on a bike ride, just fucking like write what I thought about, because that stuff is really good, like, you know, stuff worth diving into deeper, you know. So some of those creative ideas and like ways of thinking are kind of like natural in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think giving yourself time to do that, like the bike ride thing. Like for me, it's the walk thing. It's like I know that like it's like honestly, I put off thinking a lot. Like a lot of my life is a lot of my life is like autonomous. Where like I wake up at this time and I have these habits that make the whole day happen.
Right.
And, like I don't have to like think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe these aren't working. Hang on. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, is he kind of like equating like he uses that word moral naive. It's like the characteristic of something. Yeah. It's like the characteristic of being naive, or like morals being like a naive like thing in itself, right? But he's equating that with like the pursuit of like knowing what is true, and like how morals and truth aren't necessarily like they're like different, or he's like comparing and contrasting them, morals and truth, good and truth, what we think is good.
Like, okay, so that sentence, the belief in immediate certainties is a moral naivete. So morally, it's naive to assume there are immediate certainties, so things that are guaranteed related to morals.
Or whether it be real or not.
Immediate
Like how
certainties.
Like being generous is a good quality.
Yeah,
like people are pretty certain about that, and immediately can be like, yeah, that's for sure. You know,
that's good.
That's a good thing. But to do that with like on a major scale would be not.
Yeah, is there a level of being too generous? Right. Then it'd be a problem, maybe.
Yeah. Then you're poor.
That's true.
Or maybe the intention of being generous.
The intention
Can
of
see it like being manipulated is something bad.
Yeah, for sure. If it's conditional. Let's continue. Which does honor to us philosophers, but we now have to cease being merely moral men. Apart from morality, such belief is a folly, which does little to honor us. So we move beyond being moral men, aside from morality. Such belief is a folly, which does little to honor us. So the belief of immediate certainties is a folly, which does little to honor us.
You guys agree with that?
I almost think it too as he's the belief in immediate certainties, which does honor to, like he's saying, at least how I'm understanding, he's like it's honoring the philosophers that can understand that most immediate certainties don't exist on a large scale.
Okay.
And then he moves into the moral men move apart from morality because they lose the essence of understanding that level of thinking. And so that middle class he refers to starts to lose distrust and the ability to, I don't want to say like critically think, but believe in immediate certainties, right? Because like you're giving your trust away to something that's not certain. And so in that middle class, you're like my the riches.
Yeah, you're on it. I feel like that's. I'm
Well,
following.
I feel like if you continue reading, the thing gives more context of like the whole thought.
Yeah.
All right, continue, John.
Where'd you leave off?
If in middle class.
Yeah. If in middle class life an ever ready distrust is regarded as the sign of a bad character, and consequently as an imprudence. Here among us, beyond the middle class world and its yeas and nays, what should prevent our being imprudent and saying, the philosopher has its length a right to bad character, as the being who has hitherto been most befooled on earth. He is now under obligation to distrustfulness, to the wickedness squinting out of every abyss of suspicion. Hey, stop it. So like that part, like the distrust is regarded as a sign of bad character by the middle class, like the world of the yays and nays. So like the world of like of like little nuance, because like him saying middle class isn't like in the context of like financial middle class. I think he just means in like the where does the majority of people stay, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then he's like, so philosopher under their characterizations of how a person is, he might have a bad character because maybe he's got strong opinions. Maybe he thinks maybe his principles are an inverse of their principles, and like that might not be a reflection of whether they're good or bad principles. It's just he's just beyond the yay or nays. He's got some nuance in him, and so then he is now under obligation to distrustfulness, the wickedness squinting out of every abyss of suspicion. So because he's got nuance, he's suspicious of like blanket statements of like things that are very like yay or nay, and because of that, there's like things creeping in of suspicion of him at every corner because of like people feel like defensive because you don't just accept their thoughts or like their culture or their aspects of living. Each new thought is like you're suspicious of each new thought because you know that like things aren't as clear as they typically are. So like you're a skeptical person. That's how I'm reading this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you hit it.
Yeah, with some help from ChatGPT, this is the idea is the moral naivety of immediate certainties. Nietzsche questions the innocence of philosophers who seek absolute truths, calling it a moral prejudice to expect clear distinctions between truth and falsehood.
Yeah, they like just to reference that, like the yay or nays, and like the nuance of like taking two ideas and being like, well, maybe it's somewhere in the middle, you know?
Right.
And like with that comes, I think, a lot of persecution sometimes, you know, like, I mean, yeah, we can unpack that a lot, but like anything that's polarized, have an opposing opinion, there's people that are going to have like an intense reaction to your opposing opinion. Sometimes it seems like because they live in the world of yay or nays.
Okay. All right, let's continue. Forgive me the joke of this gloomy grimace and turn of expression, for I myself have long ago learned to think and estimate differently with regard to deceiving and being deceived. And I keep at least a couple of pokes in the ribs ready for the blind rage with which philosophers struggle against being deceived. Why not? So he keeps a couple in the chamber to poke the ribs of philosophers.
Got the God particle on him.
We got the God particle on his
Ready to go.
Why not, he says too. It is nothing more than a moral prejudice that truth is worth more than semblance. So semblance is how something looks. It is in fact the worst proved supposition in the world. Truth is worth more than semblance. It is in fact the worst proved supposition in the world.
It was worth more, right? That's what you're saying? Than semblance? Yeah, I mean, that's easy.
True. All right. So much must be conceded. There could have been no life at all except upon the basis of perspective estimates and semblances. And if, with the virtuous enthusiasm and stupidity of many philosophers, One wished to do away altogether with the seeming world. Well, granted that you could do that, at least nothing of your truth would thereby remain. So much has to be conceded. All life is based on perspective estimates and the way things look.
Yeah.
And with the virtuous enthusiasm and stupidity of many philosophers, one wished to do away with altogether the seeming world. Then, if that's your case, then none of the truth would remain.
Yeah, because
So you're throwing out all this other stuff, but the truth doesn't remain if you're getting rid of all this stuff.
Can't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Right. Now your philosophy doesn't even really apply.
So it makes sense why the distrustfulness comes in,
Right.
where like the middle class starts to look at philosophers in this bad character manner.
Yeah, right. Because they're so apart from regular life or the person's life that their truth doesn't even apply to mine anymore. So it's not the truth.
Yeah, and almost when kind of just to divert back to where he says keep some in the rib, where he said that pokes in the ribs ready for the blind rage. I almost took it like he was saying I keep some thoughts open to my mind being swifted or changed. Like he's not so concrete in his own beliefs that he's not willing to like take off his own blinders and to look a different way, to be like, oh, I might have been wrong, or I might have.
Yeah, because if he's doing it to other people, he's open to it himself.
Yeah.
Well, I would say like the whole point of like the context, like going into this, is that like there's no such thing as concrete anyway.
Right.
So, that makes sense. And the way I took it is like you can still joke with them. Okay, so like they use Zarathustra as an example. Okay, remember when Zarathustra first came on the mountain and like everyone thought he was a fucking like crackhead? Okay.
Weirdo, yeah.
Okay, well, it's because to first like even like share an idea, I think like humor is like a big connection, and like to be able to like laugh at oneself, to be able to tease like to tease your fellow peers is a good way to like open up channels for communication for better understanding. So like if you can't take a joke and if you can't make jokes, then like you're probably not even a good place to even know what truth is.
Right.
You know, like that's why it's funny when you see like people get upset at comedy shows because of a joke. You're like, it's a fucking joke. Like
Right.
this shit's not serious. And same thing with thinking. Like he's like, we're spending all this time thinking about how to think. Like it's not that serious. Like it is and it isn't. You know, like
Right.
I should be able to like take a stab at you, and you should be able to like giggle a little bit. Like, yeah, you're right. You know, like the Catholics do fuck kids. Like that's fact, right? Like, like you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be able to. Don't fucking edit that. They fucking do. They fucking do that shit.
It's the lunch pail guy that Jordan Peterson wrote about.
What do you mean? I
Like,
remember.
remember, like,
the construction site.
yeah. He brought
Yeah,
the lunch pail, and everybody made fun of him. So it's like, and then he got to the point where he quit the job because he was like getting bullied or something like that. But like people push each other's buttons to know like what's up.
Yeah, they were testing him. They were testing him, and he failed. Is what happened. So he could never become part of the boys. You know.
Right.
So like if he could have taken a joke and you know been like, you guys are fags, like they would have loved him. But like he didn't do that, so it didn't work out. You know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of talking about like these philosophers, like they're taking themselves maybe too seriously or their principles too seriously, which is all fine and dandy. You should believe in something, but can't take a joke. That's how I read it when I was reading that.
All right, let's continue. Indeed, what is it that forces us in general to the supposition that there is an essential opposition of true and false? Is it not enough to suppose degrees of seemingness, and as it were lighter and darker shades and tones of semblance, different velours, as the painters say? So basically what we've been saying, like they're trying to paint the world as black or white, where there's true and there's false. But he's saying is like the proper way to look at it is to look at it as different hues, like there are lighter and darker shades of
and certain times there's ratios where like truth is high and semblance might be low, and sometimes there's ratios where semblance is high but truth is low. For example, like the COVID-19 vaccine, semblance was very high, but the truth was very low. You know,
It makes
I'm
me
trying
think of like, you know, when you go to Home Depot and you get paint, you guys ever painted?
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I was
it's like percentage red, percentage blue, percentage yellow, you know, or
Yeah,
percentage
like
cyan.
the yellow category.
I'm just thinking.
Right.
I'm just thinking like just even like just general ideas too. Like for example, like I'm like conspiracy theories like are kind of like, you know, they're like the JFK being assassinated. Like semblance is high, like who killed him, why he was killed. But like
Right.
there's a big question that maybe the truth behind that semblance is not as true as we think it is. You know, so people are like skeptical of that ratio of truth and semblance. Like maybe it's just a high level of semblance and the truth behind it's actually low, you know? And like it's a red flag that people get like butthurt about saying that, you know, that they're
Right.
like, well, if the truth was high, then we should be able to unpack it more.
Yeah, like things aren't quite what they look like on the outside.
For example, like, you know, Pfizer wanted to lock all vaccine files for 79 years. It's like, well, if truth is high, then we should be able to see this shit today. You
Right.
know? But their semblance was high, not their truth, and that was a problem.
That's a good one. All right, should we continue?
Yes.
All right. And to anyone who suggested, why might not the world which
This is the
concerns
banger.
be a fiction? And to anyone who suggested, but to a fiction belongs an originator, might it not be bluntly replied, why? May not this also belong to the fiction?
Real quick, can I just pause right there?
Right.
That line right there reminds me of the simulation theory. The people
Right.
who like the simulation theory, like this is what encompasses that. They're like, if it's fiction, there must be a creator. And then he's like, okay, but maybe like what like the word for creator is fiction because like it's literally coming from a fictional like origin. Like all
Right.
this is actually fake. And that what got me thinking of like people strongly believe in like some people like believe in the simulation theory as like a potential theory of like what we're living in, you know, because we're always trying to ask about like the originator, like where do we come from, our origin. Big Bang is like a one, you know, the Lord's one, stuff like that, you know. Some people call it evolution, you know. So like, but the simulation theory is like, well, it's all fiction actually. So I thought that was like I was like, that touched on what people are talking about right now,
Right.
you know.
Right. It's all fiction.
It's all fiction. Even our idea of like what words mean in their definition is actually fiction.
Ooh, loose. That's a loose way to live. All right. Is it not at length permitted to be a little ironical towards the subject, just as towards the predicate and object? Might not the philosopher elevate himself above faith in grammar? All respect to governesses, but is it not time that philosophy should renounce governess faith?
With all due respect.
Yeah, like
Is it not time
like,
should renounce that stuff?
He's like philosophers should elevate themselves above faith and grammar. So like above like believing in something and what the words hold and what the definition of those things mean. He's like we made up every word in the dictionary.
Right.
Every word we made up and every word we defined. And like faith in what? An idea that a man came up with. He's like, isn't that kind of funny?
Right.
Like a guy just like you and I made up these words and they define them and like now they're truth. You know,
right.
Isn't that kind of funny to you? You know, like that.
That's how I'm
taking it. That's how I'm taking it.
Yeah, it's a solid argument, honestly. That's a solid argument. All right.
Yeah.
So we covered a lot there.
We did.
We did. All right, 35.
Out of all of them, I didn't get much notes from this one, and it was the longest one. So
35? Oh, 34?
35.
And we're on 35.
35 is long. Oh, 36 is long.
Yeah.
Okay. It all looks like one thing to me. Okay. Oh, volunteer. Oh, humanity.
Yeah, please try it, John.
Oh, idiocy. There's something ticklish in the truth and in the search for the truth. And if man goes about it too humanely, he says something in like, I don't know, French or Italian. Nah, bro, I don't fucking speak
Come on,
that
bro.
language.
Give it a shot, man.
Church Leroy. I don't know.
Nah, I understand poor K.
Who's gonna give it a
K,
shot?
K
Come on.
poor. Nah, bro. I wager he finds nothing. That's how
So that
he ends it.
means, so that term, il ne cherche la vraie que pour faire le bien, means he seeks the true. He seeks the truth only to do the good.
That's me, dog.
Nothing. So he's betting he finds nothing.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying like in the way he's pursuing it that he'll find nothing. He's like, "Oh, you volunteer, you human idiot." There isn't. I mean, right? I mean, that's how you read that, right?
Yeah.
There's something ticklish in the truth and the search for it. If a man goes about it too humanely, so like to me, I think about again, he's talking about Christianity in this particular aspect because like you volunteer to submit to the Lord, you're supposed to be humble to the Lord, and then like we're supposed to be kind of like the Lord's flock, like the Lord's sheep, you know, and the Lord's our shepherd, you know.
Right,
So
right.
like a sheep is very humane, you know. It's a good animal for the farm, you know. It's docile animal for the farm. People, the word sheep is used for followers, you know, like you're a follower, you're a sheep. So he's saying like, well, how much can a sheep really find out?
All right. Here's what I got from ChatGPT for some help.
Okie dokie.
Nietzsche directs a critical tone towards the human pursuit of truth, emphasizing its inherent complexities and the pitfalls of approaching it with too much sentimentality or moralistic intent. The ticklishness of truth is a metaphor of truth being ticklish. This suggests that truth is elusive and perhaps even uncomfortable to grasp fully.
Tickling the truth.
Yeah. Nietzsche references the French phrase, he seeks the truth only to do good, arguing that searching for truth with the sole intent of moral benefit is inherently flawed and ultimately fruitless.
Nietzsche's like, you gotta search the truth for bad. He's like, that's the Braves. He's like, you search for truth for good, I search for evil. He's like a Sith. I know he's not saying it for evil. He's saying like, I'm searching for truth for everything that it holds. The good, the bad, and the ugly, everything in between. Good, like beyond good and evil is what he's saying. I get it. I'm just making a joke. Just let everyone know.
All right. There's a section for ChatGPT where I have it say how this aphorism applies to the modern reader. So this is what this one said. It gave me more lines than the actual fucking thing itself.
Can't read it then. Nietzsche said it best then.
Yeah. Modern individuals, especially in the era of information overload, may resonate with Nietzsche's warning about the human tendency to moralize truth. In contemporary debates, whether about science, politics, or philosophy, there is often an implicit assumption that truth serves a moral or practical purpose. Nietzsche challenges this by suggesting that truth, when sought as a means to an end, like doing good, evades discovery. For the modern reader, this aphorism invites reflection on how bias, intention, and human emotion influence the pursuit of knowledge and understanding.
Damn. All that from that little
Right? Yeah.
that one sentence.
Literally. All right, 36.
And it was almost like joking.
Yeah.
All right.
This one really got nothing from, and it was a long one. I got someone at the end. I got someone at the end.
Okay, wait. Before we jump into this, what do you believe is the driving force behind all life and existence? Take a second to answer it. I'm gonna say it again. I want to hear David and Devin, and then you, John. All right. So, what do you believe is the driving force behind all life and existence? Like, why do you make the decisions that you make every day?
Incentive and survival. I like to encapsulate it. Incentive and survival. Put simply, like if I were to think of exercise, I'm incentivized to possibly live longer, a better life for me later on when I'm older.
Yeah,
is waiting for me. The survival comes with me doing the action of exercise consistently over time, and I can extrapolate that to like many different aspects of my life too. Like, why do I do this, or why do I show up for book club, or why do
you think everybody's decision or most people's decisions revolves around incentive? An incentive. Okay.
So big. Oh man, I agree with Devin on that. It's like sort of like the will to power thing, to like any action or thought is to self-serve myself, to figure out what's best for me, or like survive, or like my well-being. But I think there's like a touch of, like, for me, when I think about the driving force of everything, there's something with like creativity in it, or like expression. Like everything's trying to express itself, or to kind of like, yeah, like we touched on it already, like make sense of the world. But in order to do that, you have to create, like a thought has to be created, and it has to like move a little bit. It's like fluid to like make a painting, and now that's a painting, something like that. So that's like creativity or creation,
Some sort of
artistic,
influence.
yeah,
Okay.
expression.
Influence. Okay. John,
What's the question again? Just so I'm sure.
what do you think, or what do you believe is the driving force behind all life in existence?
What do I believe is a driving force for all life in existence? Well, for all life in existence, I would say like instincts.
What drives
Instincts
your
plus.
decision?
Well, okay. What drives my decision? Okay, it's better. What drives my decision? Instincts plus emotion are a big thing. Like, I feel like a lot of my like, and we can unpack what instincts are, but like instincts, one is like, I think there's a driving force for like sex and men, I think that's like a big driving force in a lot of guys. It's not like the entire one, but it's part of my instincts.
Right.
Like above like the hunger and stuff like that. So then the instincts plus emotions like how I feel about things. So instincts plus emotion, and I would say like plus like in pursuit of some sort of passion. Okay. Like I think a lot of people, passion comes in like a low frequency or vibration. That's a weird way to say it. Frequency of like they find passion, and like it's actually a substitute for passion. It's like they're chasing like highs. So like that's why going out and drinking's fun, getting highs fun, stuff like that. But like I find like doing jujitsu is like something that's hard and creative. So there's a lot of passion for it behind me. Like what drives me to go to jujitsu, like what I do for people, like what I do for Ace, or like some like people I care about. Like I would say, has got a passion. Like doing what I do for work is like out of like levels of passion,
Uh-huh.
So
Pursuit of a purpose.
I think a driving factor is pursuit of a purpose. I think you see that in a lot of people. I've been watching like this documentary about
comes from passion.
Exactly. So I think it comes from passion. I think the pursuit of purpose comes from passion. So I think it would be like instinct plus emotion plus pursuit of passion. And I think that's like what is part of the recipe, that what drives me and what drives humans. If you say everything in life, then we would take some of those off,
Yeah. So I've got, I guess I've read up on different dynamics, because I wanted to ask this, because this is all about his will to power, this section. So that's why I ask. But there was a bunch of them. So first I wanted to understand, what is the will to power? I asked ChatGPT, what are all the different like ways that people view that question, right? What are the different paradigms of addressing that question? And it gave me a bunch. So Nietzsche's is so will to power represents the fundamental driving force behind all life in existence, according to Nietzsche. More than a desire for survival or reproduction, as in Darwin theories, the will to power is the striving for growth, mastery, and self-overcoming. It is the force behind creativity, ambition, and the transformation of individuals and societies. Nietzsche sees it as the essence of life itself, a dynamic energy that seeks expression, dominance, and enhancement.
Can we just pause that? I want to say, like, I think the will to power is like the thing that helps steer, like he says, he says Darwinism falls short of what the will to power is, because Darwinism is just on instincts alone, right? And like I would say humans are operating above instincts alone. That's why we're having this whole morality conversation, right? But
Right.
like I would say instincts per individual play along into like what your will to power looks like. Like yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, the term power has like a connotation, you know. So when you think will to power, it's like, you know, let me hear him out.
The way I take will to power is like, are you able to change the landscape in front of you with your
Right.
own will? Like that's what will to power means. Like
Yeah.
if you want to be a doctor, can you go to school, do the degree, get the fucking shit, become a doctor, become a surgeon? Like if you want to be a successful person, can you take the idea in your head and make it
Right.
a reality? Can you change your landscape of reality? That's what, to me, what it means.
Right, exerting influence on
For
whatever
sure.
life itself, your living standards, whatever it is you're exerting your
For
influence.
sure. And like the influence originates from like from you. You're like, I'm trying to influence reality.
Right. So I asked. So here's my prompt. I put, what does society currently believe is the fundamental driving force behind all life and existence? Provide a list with an explanation for each, including historical source. So,
You should leave it to humans, but yeah.
but
If it's
here's
all life, it's like literally just Darwinism, other than us.
no, there's more. There's more. That's why I asked, because that's the ones I remember. Survival and reproduction is the Darwinian evolution theory, which we've been talking about. So according to evolutionary biology, the fundamental driving force of life is the survival of the fittest and reproduction. Organisms adapt to their environments to ensure their genetic material is passed on to the next generation. Traits that enhance survival and reproduction are selected over time. This theory has heavily influenced how we view competition, adaptation, and natural selection in modern society. There's a pursuit of happiness, which is utilitarianism. And this proposes that the driving force behind all human behavior is the pursuit of happiness and the avoidance of pain. Modern societies often prioritize maximizing well-being, happiness, satisfaction.
Yeah, I feel like they missed the mark. It's not happiness or pain. It's like happiness is a substitute for passion. You know, that's why like happiness is found in like drinking or getting high and stuff like that, you know? And that's why like I also like those things, because it's like it is a very nice substitute sometimes, and it's an easy substitute, you know?
Yeah, that's pleasure though.
I just think it's itching to scratch that we're trying to find. And that's why like some people who can become great at some things have a high level of being able to potentially become addicts or find themselves being addicts, is because like they have a high drive factor, and they don't have the right purpose for their drive. You know, that's why like some of the most elite like fighters, people who are dedicated to grind, like they know what it takes to grind, they have a high addiction rate, because like whatever mechanics is in their brain that allows them to like dedicate so hard into a thing also allows them to fall into like the overconsumption of pleasure, of happiness, because
Right.
like they're so similar. You find yourself like lost, kind of like, you remember that documentary we watched about the free solo climber who
Yeah.
eventually passed away, and he was saying that like he got really caught up in drugs because it was like a cheap simulation of what he felt like when he was climbing, you know?
Right.
And that's why it was so easy for him to do that. I feel like there's like a hand in glove perspective of like high levels of like drug abuse and addiction to like you could be successful if only you pointed that in the right direction, you know?
Yeah.
People who aren't scared of like drug, like people who don't have like that kind of like that like potential to go that deep in the deep end like that, they're so moderate. They also, I don't think, achieve great things either. There's like something about being able to go really deep into drugs and like not be scared about it. You know, that means you're able to go somewhere real deep, you know,
Right.
but like you're pointing in the wrong direction.
Okay.
Like it makes you think,
no,
just real quick, it makes me think of like Jordan Peterson says, like when people say they're good kids, he's like, no, he might just be a coward. You know, like the definition of a good kid is just someone who follows the rules. It's like it takes someone who's like not a good kid to like go out of bounds and try something new, you know? So
Okay. The reason I'm reading these is because we can see how these are reflected in different like groups throughout, like even just American or local society, right? So like one of them, the pursuit of happiness. You can see how if it's the pursuit of happiness, you can see those how that could play out in somebody's life, right? That would be drugs, right? Or that would be
Well, I hear
work, you know?
I hear parents saying that. They're like, I just want my kid to be happy. Like as like their biggest goal.
Right.
I'm like, be happy. Fuck, dude. I literally was like, I was like, are you like are you currently living in like the world where like you're constantly happy?
Right.
Like,
it's a temporary thing.
why are you trying to give that to your daughter? Like, that's not a legitimate fucking goal for her. Like, your goal should be that she should be like someone who's like dependable and like successful and like she can like, what I'm saying? Like different concrete things, not like happy.
Right.
Like, what does that fucking mean? Are you even happy? What are you talking about?
Right. So that's
Like,
one of the things that you would debate against that one.
no.
Another one is economic and material gain. This is called the Marxist perspective. Marx viewed material conditions and economic structures as the driving force behind human history and life. Societies are driven by the need to meet material needs, produce, and accumulate wealth. Today, the focus on capitalism, consumerism, the financial success reflects this perspective in many parts of the world. So it's all about economic and material gain. So, like in a sense, like if
I disagree with that too, though. That's just a branch off of like instincts, It's just like, why do you want to hoard stuff? Because it puts you higher on the social ladder of like genetics, Like it's not that hard. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have more money, you have the potential to have more fun, more mates, like more everything. So it's just like the gluttony perspective of your instincts taking over.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. All right, here's another one. Psychological drives. This is Freudian perspective. Freud argued that unconscious psychological drives, particularly the libido, sexual energy, and aggression, underlie human behavior and existence. While Freud's specific theories are less influential now, modern psychology still views internal drives, such as the need for safety, belonging, and self-actualization, as central motivators, such as a hierarchy of needs.
I feel like for me, that resonates more than money with like what's actual happening,
Yeah.
But what do I know?
I'll wear this outfit because she's gonna think I look cute.
I mean, totally. Like, why do I comb my hair and pick out the clothes I wear when I leave the house?
Right.
It's for for anyone who sees me, like potentially, I want to like look good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could just look like shit all the time, but like, I try to polish this shit up a little bit before I leave the house.
Right.
And like, why do I do that?
Because you never know.
Because you never know, bro. You fucking never know. Like, fuck, dude. That's the truth. I went to Chipotle, looked like a bum, and like some fucking chicks walked in. I go, today would be the day that happens. Definitely, doesn't happen, but right now, of course, So.
All right. Here's another one. The pursuit of meaning and purpose. Existentialist thinkers argue that the search for meaning and purpose is central to human existence. Viktor Frankl, for example, emphasized that individuals can endure immense suffering if they find meaning in it. This perspective is modern self-help movements, spirituality, and therapy practices that encourage people to find their purpose. I like that one.
I think people are trying to find their purpose. For sure.
Now, this one I've thought about actually. This one's called biological homeostasis and energy management. Yeah. Systems biology suggests that the fundamental driving force in life is maintaining homeostasis, balance within biological systems, and efficiently managing energy. From regulating body temperature to adapting to environmental stressors, living organisms are constantly working to maintain equilibrium.
That sounds like Darwinism.
You want to be out of the equilibrium, right? And to stand out, to get mates.
I'll be right back. I want to piss, but I'm still listening. Have you seen that like Borat thing where he's like, no, I'm not a homo.
Where did that come from?
Well, you said the homo whatever, the homo sapien. There's like this like clip of like Sasha, the guy, like the Borat guy, and he's like doing this thing, and they're saying that all humans come from Homo sapiens, and he's like, no, he's like you're telling me you guys are all gay. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like I'm not a Homo sapien. I'm a man. They're like, no, we're all Homo sapiens. He's like, maybe you guys are, but not me.
You guys want to work through 36 a little bit? I just wanted to see where we were at.
Yeah.
All
Are you
right.
saying we haven't even started 36?
Now we have a discussion.
Uh,
about it.
We kind of covered some of it though.
oh, fuck. No, this is about the will of power. We fucking unpacked it, right?
I think we did. Is he he's arguing that the will to power is the driving force?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. Like sometimes in my life, I really oh, I just got fucking took a GB. I can't talk now. There's been a few moments in my life where I could like crystal clear see an an image of the future that I wanted, you know?
Right.
And then like time passed and I aimed at that and then I got what I wanted, you know? And it's like I almost couldn't believe it, you know? It's like wow, like from that seedling of a thought I had to now I get to do this. I get to live this, you know?
Right.
And like that can only be described as like the will to power within my own life, you know? Because like if I would have never had like the seed of an idea to like plant that seed and water it and like take care of it and like you know aim at it or whatever, then like I would have never had the tree that it would have become, you know? Like um yeah.
All right.
I thought this one was funny. I made a thing. I was like, this is literally like a tweet, like Nietzsche tweet, like he was like, this is just like a one little thing. Like, what'd you guys think of this?
37? Are you talking about
Yeah.
37?
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Okay. 37. What does not that mean in the popular language? God is disproved, but not the devil. On the contrary, my friends, and who the devil also compels you to speak popularly.
Yeah, I thought this was funny.
Yeah, if you disapprove God, then you have to also disprove the devil because it's the equal but opposite version of that. If there's good there, if there's bad, there has to be good in your paradigm, but you get rid of the good, then
And-
you basically just fooled yourself.
And just the way he ends it, and he's like, and who the devil also compels you to speak so popularly, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, you know, you reference evil all the time. You know, where's that come from?
Right.
38.
Yeah. 38.
Can I take a bar at this?
Yeah, you gonna read it?
If I want to, I mean, if you want me to, I was just gonna fucking tell you like my raw thought on it.
All right, let me read it first then.
Okay.
All right, go for it, John.
Just a raw bar.
Huh?
We're gonna read.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, just to summarize this, it made me think of it's like hard times make good men make make good men make good times make hard men. Like the cycle continues. Okay, because like the but by the time the good times happening, the next generation of people have forgotten the origin of like how these things were even like placed and like why they even came to this point in the first place, and then they have less respect for like why these people came to these thoughts because they're not aware of the context on how all of these thoughts would happen, and then those people take a good thing and then they turn it into a bad thing because they're so disconnected from the originator of the thing. The reason why I got that talking is like he's talking about the French Revolution. and like these noble visionaries, and like how all of Europe was like like inspector of like, wow, they're fighting for democracy and like blah 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 and like rights and stuff like that, you know. And then like how like in just a few generations there's so much distance that their own indignation and enthusiasm, it's like they got so disconnected from it that like they even forgot like how those ideas even came to the first place, and they took them for granted, and they became less important. And then he ends it, he's like, well, we can read the whole thing, but it's like, and in so far as we now comprehend this, is it not thereby already the past? Like this has happened all before, you know, like you could say right now, like the way that people in our own country are like questioning our constitution and like the Ten Commandments, I mean, sorry, the Bill of Rights, where they're like, the Second Amendment's not even important. You know, it's like the First Amendment doesn't actually mean like you can be racist, you know, like it doesn't cover that. It's like they forgot the weight of those rules that were made, and they, because all they're seeing. Okay, I want to give another example. Um, like in the Bible, there's the Ten Commandments, okay, and like that's supposed to be a mirror to see how far we fall short from the Ten Commandments, not necessarily like rules to try to live by, because like all of us at some point break one of those rules. We can't live a whole life without breaking those 10 rules. It's like fact, you know? So like like Jesus said, like for one of the things like the Sabbath, you're supposed to leave the Sabbath, you know? It's like the Sabbath was made for men, not men made for the Sabbath. Like these rules were made for men. Men were not made for these rules, you know? But like I kind of got lost where I was going with that. But back with like the America, the Constitution thing, it's just like right now, all we're seeing is the rules left in place, but we're not remembering the ideas in which they originated from and why they were so important. Like, why do we need to be able to arm ourselves? It's because like if we don't, it's very easy to have a corrupt government. We're watching this right now in England. We're watching this right now in Australia, where if you make a mean tweet, you get arrested for 7 years. In
Right.
America, you couldn't do that because if they come to your house, I have a gun. So like, there's going to be like, it would not be worth it, maybe, you know. So there's been so much distance between our originators who made our country to now that the principles that were left in the words are lost, and all that's left is the words.
Yeah, he calls it the text. So right here in italics, he says, until the text has disappeared under the interpretation. So like, the French Revolution is an example here. Like the actual thing that happened has been buried under the interpretation of what it all meant. And so we
Correct.
don't really see the text itself. We see the interpretation of the text. So it's like, you're reading Crime and Punishment. It's not the actual text. It's what's been interpreted to us. Right.
Correct.
So now that's what we're seeing,
and just to tie in like that thing I said about like the Sabbath and what Jesus was saying, how that ties into this is like the people were taking what was left by him as like, these are the rules to live by. And Jesus was saying like, what was the reason behind the rules? Like, he's like, if your donkey falls down a ravine, are you not going to save him because it's on the Sabbath? He goes, well, no, you would save the fucking donkey. Like,
right.
you would have to. It's not about the rules. It's just about like, you need time to have a break, but sometimes you can't do that, and that's okay. It's about like the idea of why the rule was made in the first place. These French revolutionaries did a huge thing, but it got lost.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, 39. Wait, yeah, 39.
Okay.
You want to just go through it? You want to read it? The last one?
Sure.
All right. Nobody will very readily regard a doctrine as true merely because it makes people happy or virtuous. Accepting perhaps the amiable idealists who are enthusiastic about the good, true, and beautiful, and let all kinds of motley, coarse, and good-natured desirability swim about promiscuously in their pond.
Okay.
So what do you? Their pond is what?
Their ideas of thinking, like their social, like their social, like chamber of thinking. You know, like the word echo chamber could be like someone's pond, and like they only allow one type of fish in there, so that's why it's called the echo chamber. You know, but these idealists are okay with all sorts of coarse and good natured desirability swim around in their pond because they're idealists. You know.
All right, so nobody will readily regard a doctrine as true merely because it makes people happy or virtuous,
The cult's a good example.
except for
Okay.
these people
Yeah, except for these people.
who are enthusiastic about the good, true, and beautiful, and let all kinds of motley, coarse, and good-natured desirability swim about promiscuously in their pond.
The ideologists.
Yeah, they have pretty ideas swimming around in their pond.
Yeah.
Okay. Happiness and virtue are no arguments. It is willingly forgotten, however, even on the part of thoughtful minds, that to make unhappy and to make bad are just as little counter arguments. A thing could be true, although it were in the highest degree injurious and dangerous. Indeed, the fundamental constitution of existence might be such that one succumbed by a full knowledge of it. So being bad and making one unhappy aren't counter arguments.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like the truth thing, right? Like the corny phrase, like sometimes the truth hurts, you know?
Right.
It's just like sometimes if what you're aiming at is the truth, then sometimes the truth does hurt. And like
Yeah.
that's just, you know.
Okay. So that the strength of a mind might be measured by the amount of truth it could endure, or to speak more plainly, by the extent to which it required truth, attenuated, veiled, sweetened, dampened, and falsified. So the strength of a mind is to be measured by the amount of truth it can endure.
I like that when I read it.
By the extent to which it required truth. Okay. So it's not just the amount of truth it endured, it's the amount that the person required the truth.
Right.
So and then it attenuated, veiled, sweetened, dampened, and falsified.
That's the quote that's on the back right here.
Oh shit.
The back of what, the book?
The book.
Yeah.
Wheel of power.
We found a nugget by accident.
A little nuggy. Nice, good catch. All right. We'll continue. But there is no doubt that for the discovery of certain portions of truth and wicked and unfortunate are more favorably situated and have a greater likelihood of success, not to speak of the wicked who are happy, a species about whom moralists are silent. So like, yeah, there are people that perform wicked stuff
And they're happy.
and they're happy, you know?
Mhm.
All right. Perhaps severity and craft are more favorable conditions for the development of strong, independent spirits and philosophers than the gentle, refined, yielding good nature and habit of taking things easily, which are prized and rightly prized in a learned man. Severity and craft are more favorable conditions for the development of strong, independent spirits.
That makes sense, right?
Some of my most significant growth, I would say, mentally occurred after like something bad happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because you learn from the process, you learn things. So that makes sense, you know?
Mm-hmm. Just the iron sharpens iron type of shit, you know?
Right.
Like that fucking like press a coal into a diamond type of shit. It's like you'll never become a diamond if you don't face like maximum pressure that you can still withstand and make it out on the other side. If it's too much pressure and you fail, then like nothing was good out of it.
Yeah, and then the philosophers live in this gentle world.
Like Marcus Aurelius, he's literally the Roman emperor. He's literally the goat. He literally has like a harem. He's got a harem and multiple palaces, and he's the strongest man in the entire world. Very easy for him to be a stoic guy when he's literally
Shelter.
top of the hierarchy. Yeah, he's in like a sheltered garden. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think too of like, maybe kids that grew up in suburban neighborhoods that are kind of insulated in this bubble that don't understand what's going on in different areas of even maybe their own city. Like they live life with like pads on all the corners of the furniture type shit. You know what I mean?
That's why I think it's so great to travel. Like, and we could cut this because I'm about to kind of say something. But I remember I just sit in like this school assembly where these like black students were saying how they've been like racially profiled, like have seen racism in their own life, and I can speak like this community is like I see no racism. Like this is a very good community, and like I've lived in other areas where like things are way different, you know. And I was like, you guys don't know nothing about nothing. Like you think one comment from one person, like that guy was just a dick, maybe. Like you should go somewhere else where things are crazy, you know. Like, but like they don't know because they live in this sheltered. Like we live in Virginia, one of the safest, best places in the world. We live like near DC, one of the most wealthiest places in the world. Like you don't fucking know, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
And just like when I was living in Florida, some of the guys I went to school with, they came from like the same neighborhood that like Kodak was from. Like, trust me, me and them had way different lives, you know? But like we would still hang out and we could like find still things to laugh about, you know? But like it was apparent, like we're the same age, but we grew up different, you know?
Yeah.
Like comparatively, like I had the sheltered life, you know?
For sure. All right, we'll continue. Presupposing always, to begin with, that the term philosopher be not confined to the philosopher who writes books, or even introduces his philosophy into books. Stendhal furnishes a last feature of the portrait of the free-spirited philosopher, which for the sake of German taste, I will not omit to underline, for it opposed to German taste. So,
Well, it one freely.
What's that should say in English? But one, I like this last part, so
Here
I
it
want to
is.
unpack it.
To be a good philosopher, one must be dry, clear, and without illusions. A banker who has made a fortune has part of the character required to make discoveries in philosophy. That is to see clearly into what is.
The pattern.
So the thought pattern of economics, like I can look at this, put it in my chart. Here's how it comes up to me, and here's how I see the facts. Like that is more fitting for a philosopher rather than like the pursuit of good or like morality and things like that. You take a look at it like an economist or a banker would. Is this good or is this bad? Invest.
The one thing, like the way I took that last part where he's like, they should not be confined to people who write in books. It's just like, you know, I thought about us. Like I thought about how we like, you know, like I'm not a guy who's ever going to write a book or nothing, you know, but I would say that in my own right, I'm a philosopher, you know, like I'm thinking about like how to think, you know, I'm like trying to look at the bigger picture, you know, and like we spend time like literally talking about thinking, you know, and trying to find some sort of truth and like, but like having discourse about like what is truth, like what is like this, you know. So like he was like the philosopher. When I read that, like the philosopher can be just you. It's not just some smart academic guy.
Right.
Like it can be like you the guy doing the work. Like are you thinking about how to best direct yourself? Then you're a philosopher.
Right. And the best way to do it is to be dry, clear, and without illusion.
So like critically thinking, like what's critically thinking? To be objectively obsessed like the thing in front of you and make a judgment call on it, you know?
Yeah.
With no illusions, you know?
Yeah. All right. I mean, we hit all the points. You have anything to say? You too?
I do. To me, there's not comparison, but like, where do you talk about? If I can find it real fast. But like we're talking about the strength of a mind might be measured by the amount of truth, right? And then
Yeah.
we're kind of certain people that are kind of insulated. But now I can't remember the previous. I was drawing comparisons by that, and then the I forgot what was fucking crazy. Should have said it when it came to my mind.
It's right here. So that the strength of a mind might
Yeah,
be
but
measured.
we talked about something previously that I was like comparing that to. If I think of it, I'll mention it.
All right.
Bring it up.
If it comes to you, say it. But that's all I have.
Okay.
How about you guys?
That's all I got.
You, John? That's it. Anito. Let's see. We got. All right. I say we read to chapter 3 next. So that's
Easy, bro. It's easy work.
yeah. And he gonna go crazy. The religious mood. He's about to go dumb.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
He set the mood for religion. Ooh la la. Light a candle,
right.
dim the lights. All right.
Follow-up questions. Let's see.
Oops, I did it again.
All right, Dave, you floss every day?
Yeah.
No smoking Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
How's your stizzy, actually? Not you.
Mhm.
Now that we mentioned
He said, "Let me hear that fucking stick, boy. Let me hear that fucking stick, boy."
post a piece of content?
Yeah.
Spend time organizing garage.
Yes.
He said,
Create
"Spend
new
so much."
Paradyme fashion line. Shirt, hat.
Yeah.
That's how you got it, amen.
Damn, bro. All right, give me that.
Spend so much time hitting the stizzy, got me shooting my gun dizzy. That's some shit Dracula would say. Where is he?
Dracula 10.
Hitting my stizzy. I'm dizzy on your girl's coochie.
He would say some shit like that. At the local bowling alley, just hit the stizzy. Girl got me rocked off when I rocked. He says some shit like that, dude. Just some like it don't even make sense sometimes.
At the local bowling alley. Hitting the stizzy with your busy.
So that's what it was. We were talking about.
That's what it was. That's what it was. I love how that's the. All right.
So the strength of mind, right? That part when we were talking about good men or strong men create good times create weak men create bad times. I almost started to kind of unravel the thought of, well, at some point that kid that was insulated, that kid was produced by a man, which
The good
once
times.
created that insulated
Right.
environment, and so that man that he came from was that strong-willed man, and maybe the lessons weren't pushed down hard enough, or maybe the insulation came from the societal norms too, which like neighborhood and other things.
Internet with pocket.
And so it just made me like really think about like how while we were reading, I was going to ask you guys a question, like how do you get, like obviously we don't know, but like we plan for the best or hope for the best and plan for the worst. Like how do we navigate that ideal of like becoming a father for like let's say we have to go through like a really hard life or like our understanding of what our life is today, and our kid maybe we become something, all of us become something really famous, rich, whatever, and then our kid gets to live like this insulated life. How do we navigate that? Like
no, you know what it is? Not even like being rich. Like my dad works a solid job, and he has enough money to where my sister can live in a bubble. My mom can live in a bubble. You know what I mean? He's making that much. He makes money like that. It's just about, so it doesn't have to be like famous and rich, but like the way in which you raise the kid. This is actually something I think about a lot. Like on bike rides, even the way you raise the kid is important. Like the amount of time you spend with them, how you teach them lessons, like what you allow them to do, and like the pillars of character that you're trying to install in them, like how you do that is super important, because you can give them the life, but if they don't earn the wisdom from like the lifestyle that you develop from them, then you fail.
Yeah.
I feel like just to like coincide with what Jay said, because I think that's all accurate, is that like you can help guide them into simulated adversity, you know, through like, for example, kids who play sports and kids who don't play sports, there's a big difference because
Right.
like kids who play sports, it's like simulated adversity. It's tough in the
Yep.
matches. You might lose. You might be the mistake that cost the team the loss, or you could be the guy who made the team win because you practiced hard. So like football, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, like these are all like simulations of like tough adversity, like in the mental aspect, physical aspect. So like you can simulate that, like that adversity, I think, in a lot of ways. And then what Jay just said too, like the leading by example, like I feel like I think that my dad did a good job. He allowed me to have a lot of freedom. He never rescued me from things. I was always taught to like I would literally have to figure it out. Even at the lowest level of like when I was young, I would climb trees and then I'd be scared to come down. He was like, "Fuck, dude, you gotta get down somehow." He's like, "Either jump or climb down." I'm not going up there. But like he taught me like one, it's okay to have like the spirit of adventure. He didn't tell me, "Hey, don't climb that tree, you'll get hurt." He like encouraged me to climb the tree. But he also didn't come to my rescue. He was like, "You literally have to handle the shit," you know? So like just that one thing has helped me grow into like the guy who were like, I'm not afraid of like adventure, and I'm also not afraid of like when I run into a problem that I know like I only have myself to count on. You know, even my dad won't come to my rescue, even when he's right there. And like he did it in a safe scenario. But like what he taught me was that like that is the scenario you're gonna find yourself in all the time, John. You know, and he didn't need to say those. He never said those words to me. You know.
For me, like when my dad was in the military, he went deployed for a year, and my mom worked. So when I was like a kid, it was just us in Washington. You know what I mean? So like I had to figure out how to like be kind of a young adult. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, fourth, fifth grade, like get up to go to school because my mom's already gone to work. Make your own lunch. Go to school. Walk to school. You know, like you have responsibility as a kid. Like giving a kid like a responsibility in a sense, like that's an important thing to know how to manage something. You know. So like I think about that a lot actually. Like the adversity of like being a kid, getting in just fresh into school and then moving to a different state and then learning to now that area and then moving to another state. There's a lot of character that was developed in like that adversity as a kid. The biggest thing that was my problem was moving to the forest. You know what I'm saying? But you had to deal with that. So like there is adversity is a good thing for a kid if it's done correctly. Like that's why you're the screen, you know?
Yeah, like, and if it's done correctly, like for example, like you brought the food thing, like my dad always made sure like lunches were packed for me, breakfast was made for me. I say my dad a lot, but my parents both did, you know?
Right.
But like there was adversity baked into like the things that at that level I should handle. Like I should handle like adversity of like, you know what I'm saying? Like that it's an important role that they do if like done correctly.
Yeah.
David,
so I
those
think
pictures you sent me, they're sick.
that's actually
They're
a meditation
sick.
I would like to write about. That's a good one.
I'm gonna stop real quick.
Yeah.
I sent John
There's
the